Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice and Saturday video number 2. What's going on? Well, we're still playing catch up. This is the final of the catch up videos that we're doing, and we're focusing on the Nighthaunt. Like we did with the Flesh Eater Court, we're going to run through their Battletome preview and then the Armies / Regiments of Renown preview that we got from WarCom last week. A little bit later than usual, so because of that, all of this stuff previewed in this article is up for pre-order right now, if you're interested. But with that, let's jump in. Scare the wits out of your foes and open up a phantasmal pharmacy with Battletome Nighthaunt, alongside the filthy carrion kingdoms bequeathed to the Mortarch of Delusion. Nagash is also loyally served by Lady Oleander, Mortarch of Grief, and the unquiet dead known as the Nighthaunt. These shrieking hordes are made up of spirits reshaped by the Supreme Lord of the Undead's cruel humour into tormented souls that suffer in death an ironic reversal of their sins in life. They sweep across the mortal realms to claim souls for their tyrannical master, chilling the blood of their foes with their ghastly appearance and cackling as blades and spells fail to find purchase on their incorporeal form. With the new battle traits that say goodbye to Wave of Terror, the Nighthaunt have phased through the shackles of the capricious charge roll to receive an array of changes that let you create an unstoppable tide, terrifying geists on the tabletop. So again, another new army rule. They retain their ethereal rule, but now they only ignore negative modifiers like rend, so you can pop that crucial all-out defense when needed. Sounds like a downgrade, doesn't it? As a result of this change, saves across the board have been reduced to 5 up for heroes and the Black Coach, while your spectral hordes have gone down to 6+. In tandem though, every unit also has a 5 up ward save, up from a 6 up in the faction pack, so their saves are a little bit worse, their ward saves are a little bit better across the board. It's probably a fair balance trade-off. Grimghast Reapers, Bladegeist Revenants, and Pyregeists, and other larger spirits, are receiving 1 extra health per model to represent the difficulty of cutting down an incorporeal being. And then we have, I think that's Lady Oleander, I'm not 100% sure, but we have the Ethereal passive. Effect ignore negative modifiers to save rolls for friendly Nighthaunt units, excluding Nagash. So, as it mentioned a couple of paragraphs ago, what that basically means is you ignore all rend. I don't think that's too bad. So, usually you're going to be getting, on your standard troops, you're going to be getting a 6 up save and then a 5 up ward. I think that's pretty nice for bog standard troops. Prolonged exposure to the Nighthaunt is guaranteed to send a chill up the spine of even the boldest and bravest warriors in the mortal realms. The constant reminder of Nagash's ultimate plan for a cold necrotopia, causing mounting dread in their opponents. As the battle progresses, armies find their grip on sanity slipping and their control score eroding over time. Another death army, another way of manipulating your opponent's control score. For a command point, Ethereal Translocation lets you scoop a unit off the table and set them up elsewhere. Interesting. We do have that rule as well, so we can actually see what the stipulation is. An ability previously locked to a battle formation, now made universal, much to the pleasure of scythe-wielding spirits across the realms. And those kind of deep strike abilities or scout abilities are always quite nice as well. Rounding out the tableau is the Grief of Nexus. Spectral apparitions that manifest on the battlefield. They released with Soulblight Gravelords. It's the same kit, you can build them 2 ways, depending on which army you want to use them for. And they prevent nearby enemies from using commands and refashioning spirits into reinforcements for the Nighthaunt. We have a couple of stars. So for that bit, rules for the terrain feature are currently available to download. I did a video on them, it will be in the Age of Sigmar playlist. What was the first star? The Black Coach Horde of Spectre has gone down to 6+, talking about saves. With a 3 up save and 18 wounds, the Supreme Lord of the Undead is thankfully exempt from this rule, such as the power of Nagash. Yeah, so Nagash should be exempt from that rule, because he is a monster. On the tabletop, he's a beast to get through. So first one, Passive Mounting Dread. Effect subtract the current battle round number from the control scores of enemy units while they are in combat with any friendly Nighthaunt units. That's going to get very gross very quickly. That's also in their Spearhead, we touched on that yesterday. And then we have the Ethereal Translocation. It is a once per turn army, your movement phase ability, 1 command point as previously mentioned. Declare, pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit that is not in combat to use this ability. That's quite wide. Effect, remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. That's really nice. For a command point, I think that's pretty solid. Battle formations have also been updated, with Quicksilver Geists now able to vanish and reappear, usually with their spectral blades aimed squarely at the backs of their foes, while the blood-curdling cores of the Shrieker Horde prevent units in combat with a Nighthaunt hero from retreating. Not quite as useful. Deathstalkers retain their ability to flit out of combat before charging back in or shooting their flummoxed assailants. Fall back and charge and shoot. Pretty nice. And the Lethal Rancor of the Royal Procession gives 2 Nighthaunt units anti-charge +1 rend should their foes be able to close the distance on these baleful spectres. So Quicksilver Geists. Once per turn army, your movement phase, this is a core move ability, vanish and reappear. Declare, pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit that is in combat to use this ability. Effect, roll a dice. The unit using this ability can move the distance up to its movement characteristic added to the roll. Wow, okay, that's nice. It can push through other models and the combat ranges of enemy units, and it can end that move in combat. Can end. So it's not forced to move and end in combat. It can move wherever it wants, but you can basically phase into another unit. That's a really nice ability. And then for Royal Procession, Lethal Rancor, once per turn army, enemy hero phase. Declare, pick up to 2 friendly Nighthaunt units to be the target. Effect, the target's melee weapons have anti-charge +1 rend for the rest of the turn. It's not bad. Probably want to be on the defensive with that. I think Vanish and Reappear is much better. I like those kind of movement-based rules. I think they're just really fun, whereas it's a nice utility, but it's not that fun. I don't think. The Nighthaunt can look forward to a revamped collection of heroic traits and artifacts, as well as a ghoulish new Law of the Underworld. Their undead wizards can wrench souls with a gesture, letting a unit make a move or retreat as if it was the movement phase. They can also shackle an enemy hero within 18 inches with the Chains of Death, burdening them with Strike Last for the rest of the turn. Nasty. Fell Blades is the Law's unlimited spell, empowering Nighthaunt weapons with macabre energies that subtract 1 from save rolls against subsequent attacks that target the unit the ensorcelled weapons were swung at, pairing perfectly with both the on-foot, or is that floating, and mounted Knight of Shroud, to invite their followers to fight immediately after them. Okay, we've seen that before, that's fairly standard in most Battletomes and heroes with certain units. But attacking a unit and then -1 to save rolls after you've attacked, that's not a bad little unlimited spell either. So these are both from Law of the Underworlds, they both go off on a 6+. Wrench Souls, declare, pick a friendly Nighthaunt wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible, friendly, non-hero Nighthaunt infantry unit, wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target, and make the casting roll 2d6. Effect, that target can immediately use the normal move or retreat ability as if it were your movement phase. It's just a nice little bit of extra. And then the other one, Fell Blades, so this is your unlimited spell as mentioned. Declare, pick a friendly Nighthaunt wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible friendly Nighthaunt unit, wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target, then make a casting roll of 2d6. Effect, until the start of your next turn, each time the target uses a fight ability, if all of its attacks targeted the same enemy unit, after that ability has been resolved, subtract 1 from save rolls for that enemy unit for the rest of the turn. Ah, right, I misunderstood that. So what it actually does, you fight them, and then anything else from any other units that goes into them is -1 to save against the enemy unit. It's not that enemy unit having -1. Yeah, no, I don't know what I was thinking then. It's still okay. If you're going to gang up on a unit, it's still okay, but you're going to have to think about that more. I can see why it's the unlimited one. Yeah, it's not quite as exciting as I thought it was, is it? It's not bad though, it's a very nice utility spell. The alchemically minded Lord Vitriolic, such a stupid name, joins the morbid procession with this Battletome. A wretched figure cursed by Nagash to fuss over tonics and potions with a care he never gave his craft in life. Spectral alchemy allows him to unleash either a potent chemical perfectly fine-tuned to weaken his foe, or just hurl whatever he has in his hand in a peak of rage. I always go for the peak of rage. In other words, on a dice roll of 3 up, you get to pick your poison, otherwise you'll roll 2 dice and get what you're given. Phantasmal Solvent dissolves anything with a move characteristic of dash. Choking vapors and fear-laced hallucinogens discombobulate wizards and priests, while Unholy Prescription strips the target of its blessed ward save. Interesting choices in there. So we do have a list of all the 6 potions. Spectral Alchemy is a once per turn army your shooting phase ability, so it's his ranged attack. Declare pick a target within 10 inches of this unit to be the target. A decent range. Effect roll a dice on a 3 up. Pick one of the following effects, or roll 2 dice and apply both corresponding effects in an order of your choosing, including duplicate. First one, Phantasmal Solvent. If the target has a move characteristic of dash, inflict 6 mortal damage on the target. Number 2, Acidic Fog, inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. Number 3, Fling Concoctions. Add 1 to the attack's characteristic of this unit's hurled vial this phase, but all attacks made by this unit this phase must target that enemy unit. Number 4, Choking Vapors. If the target is a wizard, subtract 1 from its power level until the start of your next turn. That's pretty strong. 5, Fear-Laced Hallucinogens. If the target is a priest, remove D3 ritual points from it. Wow. If that goes off on a 3, brutal. And 6, Unholy Prescription. Ward saves cannot be made for the target for the rest of the turn. I'd be okay with getting 2 random ones. Obviously it depends what you're throwing. If you get a 1 and it's an infantry unit with a move character, like an actual move characteristic, not that good. But there's some fun things in there. There's some really fun things in there. And alright, there's specific to wizard, specific to priest. They're pretty good. Pretty good indeed. You'll be able to check out other changes to your rules in the Battletome Nighthaunt, which is available to pre-order now, as is Vitriolic and the brand new Spearhead, which we covered yesterday. This sounds pretty strong. The Flesh Eater Court stuff sounded pretty good, but a lot of this sounds quite strong. Nighthaunt were doing alright, weren't they? The Black Coach, if I remember its profile correctly, is pretty nice. All of these saves, they're going to be quite a tough army to get through and break down. And there's just some fun movement shenanigans in here as well. Yeah, okay, I'm down for this. This sounds like an absolute nightmare to play, but I guess that's the point, isn't it? Now let's jump over to our second article for this preview. We're going to look at the Armies of and Regiments of Renown. I think it's both. We'll find out as we go through. Ride roughshod over your foes and summon Nagash from the ether with new Nighthaunt Armies of Renown. So maybe this is just Armies of Renown. Nagash controls all the armies of death, from the deranged cannibals of the Flesh Eater Court through the sculpted perfection of the Osiarch Bone Reapers. That's a Battletome I'm looking forward to seeing. To the endlessly quarrelling, but undeniably useful Soulblight Gravelords. The spectral ace up his sleeve, however, are the Nighthaunt, a legion of ethereal horrors shackled in eternal service to the supreme lord of the undead. Each bears the marks of a punishment in undeath for their transgressions in life, a cruel torment devised by the grand necromancer. Who says gods can't have a sense of humour? They just like to make people and things suffer. This is Armies and Regiments, okay. Battletome Nighthaunt features Armies of Renown and Regiments of Renown that provide new ways to use your Geists in battle. The two armies take very different approaches, one a cavalcade of cavalry, and the other an opportunity to summon Nagash himself. Pretty strong. Incorporeal cavalry units, including Rakenor the Grimhailer, don't even know who that is, race into battle together with the clattering procession. Accompanied by rattling black coaches, one of these morbid conveyances can even become a hero. The army retains the ethereal rule, but leans heavily into movement shenanigans, as you'd expect from a bunch of ectoplasmic equine. Spectral Swiftness is a core move and retreat ability that lets a unit phase out of combat, even passing through other units entirely in order to escape. Pitiless Reapers lets you roll a bunch of mortal damage every time you pass over an enemy unit. Real pain from ghostly hooves. So we have the Clattering Procession. Spectral Swiftness, once per turn army your movement phase, in fact they're both once per turn army your movement phase abilities. So So Spectral Swiftness, declare, pick a friendly clattering procession unit that is in combat to use this ability. Effect, that unit can move a distance up to its movement characteristic. It can pass through other models and the combat ranges of enemy units, but it cannot end that move in combat. Keywords, com, move, retreat, generally quite nice. You're probably not going to want to do it all the time, but to keep a unit alive or to get them out of the way, pretty nice. And then Pitiless Reapers, declare, pick a friendly clattering procession unit passed across any enemy units this phase to use this ability. Then pick one of those units to be the target. So you can only do it on one no matter how many you cross over. Effect, roll a dice for each model in the clattering procession unit that passed across the target. Add 1 to the roll if any friendly clattering procession black coaches passed across the target this phase. For each 6-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. So if it's a black coach, you add 1, so at most, or at best, sorry, it'll be a 5-up. Little bit of chip damage really, you might get a few wounds through, but it's not as good as I was hoping for. Probably a good thing though. You can promote one of your heroes to the level of a Silent Observer, who compels 3 nearby units into charging that turn, even if they've already retreated, letting you make use of your Hex Wraiths and Black Coaches' damaging charge phase abilities. The spell lore has your wizard summoning Spectral Lashes, adding an extra 2 inches of movement for a unit within 12 inches, not bad, while Fell Riders provides the chance to reroll run and charge rolls of the caster and a unit of their choice, ensuring you can close the distance reliably. Again, sounds pretty good. So these are both from the Clattering Procession. Our first one, the Silent Observer, is a charge phase ability. Declare, pick up to 3 friendly Clattering Procession units, wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect, for the rest of the turn, the targets can use charge abilities even if they used a retreat ability the same turn. Ties in with Spectral Swiftness. And then we have the Fell Riders. This is a spell, goes off on a 6-up. Declare, pick a friendly Clattering Precision Wizard. Cast this spell. Pick the caster and up to 1 other visible friendly Clattering Procession units wholly within 12 inches of them to be the targets. Make a casting roll of 2d6. Effect, you can re-roll run rolls and charge rolls for the targets for the rest of the turn. It's not bad. It's not bad. The second Army of Renown is the Eternal Nightmare, a recreation of the kind of summoning ritual that might see Nagash returned to physical form. Featuring the head honcho himself amid a massive non-unique Nighthaunt inventory, you'll choose a Nexus of Grief terrain piece as the ritual site and place Nagash within 1 inch. It loses the Hungry Crypts ability but gains a 4-up ward save. For the first 2 battle rounds, Nagash must gather power, meaning his physical aspects, moving, fighting, controlling objectives, are lessened, but his ward save starts off far stronger than usual. So the Eternal Nightmare, it's a passive ability, gather power. Effect, the following effects apply to a friendly Nagash during the first and second battle rounds as shown. Battle round 1, his move characteristic is dash, and he cannot make pile-in moves, so he can't move, he's just fixed there. He has a ward 3-up, he has a control characteristic of 1, Alakanash and Zephyr Nebtar each have an attacks characteristic of 2 instead of 4. And then battle round 2, move characteristic is up to 6 inches. He cannot end a move more than 6 inches away from the ritual site. The ward save goes to a 4-up. He has a control characteristic of 5-up, and his attacks are still locked in at 2 instead of 4. But you've summoned in Nagash. So he starts off weak, and then he's Nagash from turn 3. This army is about playing the long game, having Nagash weather incoming magic and shooting attacks while his loyal Nighthaunt swarm around him. One of his ethereal toadies can hold the seal of Nagash and sacrifice 3 damage points to heal their lord, should you need to top up the health of the deathly despot. The hero can also become a damned vessel and act as a conduit for Nagash to cast his spells through. Interesting. Makes perfect sense. I like it. You get access to their standard manifestation lore, and the Will of Nagash can turn a unit near invincible to attacks, causing unmodified hit or wound rolls of a 1 to 3 to fail completely. Pretty strong. So looking at the spells, we have Damned Vessel, which is a reaction. You declared a spell ability for a friendly Nagash within 18 inches of this unit. Measure the range and visibility of that spell ability from this unit instead of Nagash. So you just get as much extra distance as you can possibly get. Pretty nice. And then the Will of Nagash It's a spell, goes off on an 8, so slightly harder to cast than the others we've seen. Declare pick a friendly Eternal Nightmare Wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible friendly Eternal Nightmare infantry unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Effect: until the start of your next turn, if the unmodified hit roll or unmodified wound roll of the attack that targets the target unit is a 1 to 3, the attack fails and the attack sequence ends. That's very strong. It's just for one unit, but if you want to keep a unit safe, that's going to go a long way towards doing it. It's on both hits and wound rolls. Very nice. As Nagash controls all of his armies with a hand of freezing bone, he can force the Nighthaunt to lend out their forces. The Casket of Resurrections is a black coach with the powers of revivification, siphoning life force from enemy units to perform a dark resurrection and return a non-unique death infantry hero back to battle. Core rule restrictions mean you can only return each hero once, but it's great if you've got a lot of wraiths or abhorrents you want to keep in play. It's still pretty strong, depending on how it goes off. We'll find out hopefully in a second. And the Craven Thorn Executioners, meanwhile, are Kurdos Valentine's miserable lackeys. 2 units of Craven Thorn Guard who add 1 to their hit and wound rolls if their Scriptor Mortis boss has successfully sentenced a unit as an enemy of the throne with his War Scroll ability. So our first one, the Casket of Resurrections, end of any turn, Dark Resurrection. Declare if any damage points were allocated to an enemy unit by this unit's combat attacks this turn, and that enemy unit was destroyed this turn, pick a friendly non-unique death infantry hero that was destroyed to be the target. Let's just break that down before we do the effect. So the coach has to do damage to the unit, but the unit can be killed by any other unit in your army as long as it's destroyed that turn, but you can resurrect that non-unique death infantry hero even if it was destroyed a previous turn. From what I'm reading of that, yeah, it's just one that has been destroyed to be the target. The effect: set up a replacement unit identical to the target wholly within 12 inches of this unit. The replacement unit can only be set up in combat with enemy units that are in combat with this unit. So you can even set it up in combat. Interesting. And then the Craven Throne Executioners. Enemy of the Throne passive. Effect: add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for units in this Regiment of Renown or attacks that target a sentenced unit. All this and several more spectral delights await you in Battletome Nighthaunt, which is available to pre-order now. So this sounds stronger than the Flesh Eater Courts. Probably not correct to be comparing them. I think Flesh Eaters are more of a horde-ish army, whereas these are well, I don't know. These are probably quite horde-y as well, to be honest. I think there's some really strong stuff in it. I just generally think the Nighthaunt get favourable rules. You can do some fun stuff with Nagash in his Army of Renown. That Dark Resurrection is really nice if you're taking that one as a Regiment of Renown. Again, we're getting quite a lot on the Armies of Renown, but very little on the Regiments of Renown, which is more interesting to me because I'm not going to run this army. I'm probably not going to run the Regiments either, but I'd like to know more of what the Regiments do. But just like the Battletome preview, all of this is pretty nice. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is there anything here that jumps out at you? Anything you're not sure about? Anything over the last 2 articles that we've covered that makes you wonder if they've changed maybe a bit too much in the Battletome? Generally, let me know what you think of these previews. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.